Hello, my friend. I'm so very glad you are here with me. Today, I'm going to try this new gorgeous set of makeup brushes. So, I'm going to do my makeup trying to use these all. This is not an advert. This is a present, very precious to me. And of course, be ready to another scary story for you to relax. And please, my dear, don't forget to leave a comment down below about your thoughts and emotions of this video.
The moon always feeds the madness, and its tide always pulls me in.
A friend of mine told me this story a few years ago. Unbelievable and terrifying. He was not actually the one who believed in ghosts. To tell the truth, he's still keeping his position. But this case was something he failed to explain. Something that sent him shivers even now. This story took place over 7 years ago. And now, with your permission, I'll try to tell this all on his behalf. So, it was early 2000s and we owned a small 2-bedroom apartment. My wife, myself, and our 2 cats, Tim and Deli. And we have been living happily here for about 5 years. It's close to their school, close to where we work, and close to a big shopping mall. From time to time, we've heard some strange sounds in our home, mostly at night, but nothing that truly convinced us that it was supernatural. Because of the size of our place, it's fairly easy to pick up sounds and little noises from any of the rooms, and we would usually think of rational explanation of them. It's probably the wind that blew over the plastic bag full of groceries, or the batteries in that toy are too old, so that's probably why it started playing by itself. But we never actually tried to investigate. We never talk about it, and not wanting to admit to each other, my wife and I feared that we could meet something that we did not believe in. Tim never slept all the night in his place, and like a clockwork would walk into our room at about midnight and climb into our bed. If we happened to be awake at that time, my wife would take him back to his own bed, but often we were fast asleep and would wake up next morning with him snuggled in between us. One Sunday morning, we woke up with the little guy in our bed, and while drinking coffee, he asked us, "Who visited you last night?" "You were with us, sweetie. You know that no one visited us last night," we laughed. "No," he said. "Last night, when I walked into your room, there was a lady in your room, standing there by Daddy's closet." My wife and I looked at each other, and I knew that she believed him, and I could hardly have a thought about what it could be. But my entire feelings that came somewhere from above the stomach told me that he was right. So we kind of played the whole thing down and challenged the subject every time Tim would ask about our visitor. After about 2 weeks, the incident was forgotten. One morning we woke up, Tim still sleeping between us again, and just lay there talking about random things when Ellie walked into our room and kissed us as she normally did after getting up in the morning. We invited her to lie down with us, as it was a Sunday and we were in no rush to get up and start the day, but she wanted to go and watch some kiddies shows on the television in the lounge. She walked out the room, and with her cheery voice we heard her greet someone, "Hello," and gave a cute little chuckle. Again, my wife and I just looked at each other wide-eyed and called Ellie back to our room. "Who did you greet in the lounge just now?" I asked her with a smile. "The sad lady, Daddy," she replied, got up and walked to the lounge, and obviously saw no one. So I switched the television on and she watched her favorite shows. Again, we didn't make mention or ask further questions about the lady, as my kids didn't know about things such as ghosts as far as they were concerned. The only supernatural being that came into our home was the Sandman. Months passed without any talks of the lady, except some jokes between my wife and I, usually after the kids were asleep and she had to go to make us some coffee, which we would drink while watching movies in bed. "Say hi to the sad lady for me on your way back," would normally get my wife running back to the room and earn me a hit from her on my shoulder. Little did I know that the joking was going to catch up to me eventually. Ellie talked in her sleep a lot, and we would sit in bed many nights listening to her mumbling, trying to make out what she was saying and wondering what she was dreaming about. One particular summer's night, I woke up and heard Alice talking up a storm. But at the same time, I could hear what sounded like a soft voice singing. Our bedroom window was open during the hot nights, so I dismissed it as the sounds coming from outside and rolled over and fell asleep again. This started to happen more frequently though, at least every third night. And every time I got up from my bed and started walking to the kids' room, Ellie would stop talking and the singing would disappear before I could get through the door. I'd stand there in the silence and wait for a sound, but nothing would happen. Again, I thought that it must have been sounds from the outside, because as we walked out of my room, the singing would stop. It made sense to me. The next couple of days we had unusually chilly weather, so we closed our bedroom windows at night, and guess what? I did not hear the singing. I was relieved, but it didn't last too long. On one of those cold nights, I was lying in the bed awake while the rest of my family in my household was asleep, thinking of everything from work to what we would eat the next evening, and Ellie starts mumbling. But after a couple of seconds, it starts to sound like she has a terrible nightmare. The soft mumbling has become much louder, and I could hear that she's very scared. Just then, the soft singing started too. I got up slowly and quietly made my way out of the bedroom. Each step I took toward the kids' room made my heart beat a little faster, and the singing kept growing louder and louder, clearer and clearer, where in the past it started disappearing as I neared to their room. Standing right outside the kids' door, I heard Ellie's mumbling dying down, but the soft singing, clearly a woman's voice, continued. Chills sprinted up and down my spine. My legs started feeling like they do when you run away from someone in a dream, like a jelly, while I could feel cold beds of sweat dripping down my side. My mouth went dry instantly as I listened to this sweet-sounding lullaby, one which I've never heard before and will now never forget. Blacks and grays, apples and grays, go to sleep, little baby. I knew I had to confront whatever was in the room with my kids. So I took a breath and slowly started pushing the door open. When you wake, you shall have. The singing stopped abruptly as I peeked around the door. She just sat there on my daughter's bed, arms folded in her lap, and head turned towards me. We just looked at each other. I wanted to, but couldn't get my eyes off her. Then she just carried on singing softly. All the pretty little horses. My wife said she found me lying in the kids' doorway and helped me back to bed. Apparently, I was ice cold but sweating a lot. I myself can't remember what happened after those last few words she sang. I must have blacked out, but the strange thing is that my kids have been sleeping very well since that night. I wish I could say the same for myself. And this is the thing he could not explain now. He hoped it was just a dream. Thank you guys for being here. If you're new here, so please join our family. And I wish you